You know what, I hate my job, I hate my boss, I'm going to start my own business. And many people are going really unprepared and not ready to face the huge hurdle and tasks that entrepreneurship plays. Hey my lovelies, welcome back again to The Style of Success. I'm your host Kelly and it's all biz talk today. But if you are interested in anything sense or style or success, then this is the right channel for you. So click that subscribe button. So when I was doing a little bit of research, I found out that there's several studies that actually see that for those who are self-employed, they kind of report higher levels of satisfaction. They're happier even when their income is lower. They tend to feel more satisfied with what they're doing. And I think that sometimes this kind of has to do with the fact that entrepreneurs have more creative freedom, they have more ability to innovate and do what they'd like to do in terms of their business. And so because of that, they kind of tend to feel more satisfied with life or satisfied with the business or the job that they're doing. So every single one of us wants to achieve success in whatever we decide to do with our lives. And what I've realized is that sometimes success and satisfaction go hand in hand. It's almost like the more satisfied you are, the more successful you get. And the more success you get, the more satisfied you get with life. And even in the instances where people are not really satisfied with what they're doing, but they achieve some form of success, it's almost at the expense of their well-being or their health or their peace. There's just something that doesn't seem to synchronize. And so I wanted to talk today because if you're like me, you've noticed that there's been this huge rise of entrepreneurship. Like you would find out like on social media, you see more of girl boss, women in business, boss babes, and many people more and more are beginning to feel like maybe this is where they need to go, because it seems that social media has kind of glamorized entrepreneurship to make everyone feel like this is the best thing for them and this is where they need to go. Every one of us wants the quickest way to get what we want, to achieve that life that we want to live. And so this is the question that I have to ask. Is entrepreneurship for you? Because many people more and more are feeling like, you know what, I hate my job, I hate my boss, I'm going to start my own business. And many people are going into entrepreneurship, going really unprepared and not ready to face the huge hurdle and tasks that entrepreneurship plays. But even with all the benefits of entrepreneurship, do you know that there is a subset of people who enjoy most of the benefits of entrepreneurship without owning the business? And these are the people that are called intrapreneurs. So let's talk about how you're able to choose that path. Is entrepreneurship more for you, or is intrapreneurship the way to go? Let's discuss it in this video. And entrepreneurs, more or less, are people or individuals who start a new venture, most likely with limited resources, but they're the ones who solely bear the risks and the rewards of the venture that they go into. But then, if we talk about intrapreneurship, in my opinion, it's more or less corporate entrepreneurship, in the sense that this is an employee who works in an organization, who's probably working on an innovative project. They're acting like entrepreneurs in terms of like risk-taking and innovation. So there's a lot of similarity when it comes to entrepreneurship or intrapreneurship. The only difference is that the intrapreneur is innovating within a corporate organization, while an entrepreneur owns that organization and is innovating in their own business. Entrepreneur operating externally from an organization, except the one they create. Intrapreneur operating internally within the organization. Entrepreneur vulnerable to all types of risk. Intrapreneur limited risk because they don't own the organization. So that indeed is a limited form of risk as opposed to the entrepreneur. So entrepreneur can have independent decision making, while an intrapreneur more or less has more collaborative decision making. So they would need approval. They most likely might have a boss above them where they would need to kind of liaise and discuss and talk with them. And then importantly, entrepreneurs are primarily serving their customers, while intrapreneurs, even though they might have, or the organization might have their own customers, they are more or less serving the organization in itself. That is the first point of call. That is the interest that they're serving. And for an entrepreneur, it's not time bound. It depends on when they want to exit the business or if they're tired of the business. While an entrepreneur, it's kind of limited in terms of how long they will stay in an organization. Sometimes it's within their power to decide if they want to move on, while other times it is more or less dictated by the organization. Another thing to note is that for entrepreneurs, most of them are motivated by passion, the desire for independence and financial gain, while intrapreneurs, on the other hand, are also motivated by passion, but also the freedom to innovate and also to get some backing and incentives from their company. But the great thing I find, which are the similarities between entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs, these are passionate leaders who want to inspire and guide their teams so that, whatever idea or vision they have can actually see the light of day. There are also people that are very adaptable. So even though there are risks and hurdles and obstacles along the way, they are resilient because they want to reach the end of that goal. So they're able to look beyond the difficulties and kind of try to find a way to move things forward. And the great thing is that they are people who can identify and evaluate an opportunity and see to themselves, how can I capitalize on this? What tools and skills do I have that I can use to execute this project? So they're people that invest their hearts and their souls into a company, they're passionate, and they see themselves as part and parcel and the fabric of an organization. So it goes beyond just receiving a paycheck. These are people who want to effect change wherever they are. So before we go on to trying to find out whether entrepreneurship is the right option for you or intrapreneurship, let's look at some examples of entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs within this space. So I took the liberty of finding examples of entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs that were women. So if there's any man that is watching this video, there's no hate. I just want to highlight women who are doing big things within the space. So one example of an entrepreneur is Whitney Wolf. She is the founder of Bumble, which is a dating app created for women by women, and it's fast gaining a lot of popularity. And then we have more people like Sarah Blakely, who was the founder of the brand Spanx. Everyone knows Spanx. And she's running $1 billion company. And we have more people like Tory Burch, who is also the creative director, fashion designer, and the founder of her eponymous brand, Tory Burch. And her brand is also $1 billion company, and her net worth was over $850 million back at 2019. Or we can also look at the example of Susie Batiz, who is the founder of Poo-Pourri, the toilet spray. And as of 2020, she was worth over $215 million, but she's also running $1 billion company. So there's so many examples. I'm not even including the obvious ones like Oprah Winfrey and every other one that I can't remember off the top of my head. But we know so many entrepreneurs in the space that are doing big things. But did you know that intrapreneurs are equally as successful as entrepreneurs? Let's look at some examples here. So one example of an intrapreneur is Sheryl Sandberg. She is actually worth $1.6 billion, and she's the Facebook Chief Operating Officer. And then we have other people like Dame Sharon White. Here in the UK, she is the chair of John Lewis Partnership. She was the first black person and the second woman to become a permanent secretary at the Treasury in the UK. And she has an annual salary of £990,000. We also have Indra Nooyi, who was the chairperson and chief executive officer of PepsiCo. So Indra stepped down in 2018, but as at that time, she was worth over $80 million. We also have Susan Wojcicki, who is the CEO of YouTube since 2014, and she has a net worth of over $400 million. So from these examples, you can clearly see that intrapreneurs are as successful as entrepreneurs. And so entrepreneurship is not the only route to gaining the success that you want or gaining the opportunity to innovate and decide where you want to fall into. So I've put a few questions that I want us to ask ourselves to determine where we lie within this spectrum, whether we want to be entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs. And the first question I have is this: how important is job security to you? Because entrepreneurship takes a lot of lack of job security, especially at the beginning stages of starting the business and building the venture and getting everything out. While with intrapreneurship, you have more or less job security while you have the opportunity to innovate and try out new things and effect change in your own way. The next thing I'm going to ask you is this: how tolerant are you of risk? Entrepreneurship is all about taking risks. You are going to be put in situations that you have no clue about. While intrapreneurship, you're taking that risk within the confines of an organization. So even if things go wrong, it's not the end of the world. But for an entrepreneur, things going wrong can actually lead to bankruptcy or the closing down of the business. Another question that you can ask yourself is this: would you rather have, resources and the support of a large company backing you up, or do you want the freedom of running your own business? We all know that the entrepreneur is running their own business, they're running the show, but the intrapreneur, you have that backing and the support of a larger organization in whatever you're trying to do. Now, the next question I'm going to ask you is this: does the idea or the responsibility of managing your own business scare you or excite you? This question is quite tricky because I think there is a bit of fear and excitement when it comes to starting your own business. And even with intrapreneurship, you have those nerves, like, oh, I want this project to go well. Is it the right decision to take? But at least you have a body of people where you can get some counsel and get some ideas in how to go about things. So does that idea of running your own business scare or excite you? Then maybe entrepreneurship is the right place for you. But if it's something that sounds too daunting or overwhelming, intrapreneurship might be the way to go. And last but not least, another question that you can ask yourself is this: can I navigate the existing culture of an organization, or would I prefer to create my own? Every company has their own core values and the philosophy at which they run their business. So the question is, do I want to just fit in, see this company, oh, I love their ethos, I love what they're all about, and I'd love to be a part of this? Or are you someone that wants to create your own culture? You have your own, core values that you want to share with the world, and it's something that you want to create. That's another way of deciding whether entrepreneurship or intrapreneurship is going to be the right route for you. So I'd like to ask you this question, and let me know in the comments down below. Do you think you're more of an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur? What I've realized is a lot of people who are intrapreneurs end up going on to running their own business over a period of time. But at least they had the luxury of learning within an organization, learning about leadership, about managing projects and, managing groups of people before they go on to doing their own thing. The thing is that many people who run into entrepreneurship run quickly out of it because they realize it's not as simple as it looks, and there are a lot of hurdles and challenges and emotional turmoil that entrepreneurs go through. So don't get carried away with all the entrepreneurship talk. Leave your 9 to 5, be your own boss. It's good to really think within yourself. Is it worth me just being an entrepreneur or maybe doing a side hustle before I decide I want to be an entrepreneur? Or if you're like me and you are risk loving and you like to try things out and create a new culture and a new structure for yourself, then maybe entrepreneurship is the place for you. So thank you so much for watching this video. Do smash that like button if you enjoyed the video, and share it with your friends who are in this space or who are confused about what path they should be going on. But in any case, take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next videos.